Blue Peter, in just under 10 minutes, goes to Portsmouth, where work has begun to preserve the Mary Rose. First on BBC1, here's John Craven with Newsround.
The fight will go on to save an important children's hospital from being closed. Hello again. There's a growing wave of protest at last night's decision to close down Tadworth Hospital in Surrey, which treats sick children from all over Britain. It's the country branch of Great Ormond Street Hospital in London, and the governors say there just isn't enough money to keep both hospitals fully open. It's believed as many as 100 members of Parliament have said they want Tadworth kept open, and several children at the hospital have written to the Social Services Secretary, Mr. Norman Fowler, asking him to give government help. Paul reports.
Many people connected with the hospital are angry at the governor's decision. Hundreds have telephoned the hospital today to protest. Others, including many former patients, have written letters and sent money in the hope of keeping the hospital open. They're worried that other hospitals don't have the special facilities which Tadworth offers these children, and they say it shouldn't close because of its reputation for outstanding treatment. One of the senior nurses at Tadworth, Doreen Terry, explained why the hospital is so special.
Well, I think it's special because it's very small, and I think small is beautiful, as Mr. Fowler himself has said many times. They have lots of room to move around, they have wonderful facilities here, and the most important thing of all is that they have tender, loving staff who they know. And in a children's hospital, this is very, very important, that they do know the nursing staff, so that when they come in, time and time again, they are always greeted by the same faces.
Now, parents of children at the hospital, staff and supporters hope that members of Parliament will persuade the government to give money to keep Tadworth open. If they fail, it could be sold and turned into a luxury housing estate.
The House of Lords, the highest court in the land, is to decide the case of the schoolboy and the turban. The boy, Gurinder Singh Mandler, is a Sikh. His family originally came to Britain from India, and he was refused a place at a private school in the Midlands because he wouldn't take off his turban. Today, 3 top judges gave him permission to take the case to the House of Lords because it raised a matter of general public importance. Gurinder and his father say the whole issue is very important to the Sikh community in Britain. The school's rules about uniform meant he would have to remove his turban and cut his long hair, which they say is against the principles of their faith. Last month, thousands of Sikhs marched through London protesting about a vital judgment in the case. A judge had ruled that Britain's 500,000 Sikhs are a religious group, not a racial one, so they're not protected by the race relations law. Nearly 1,000 British troops on the Falklands look like having a far more comfortable Christmas than they'd imagined, thanks to a vast floating hotel. At the moment, many live in makeshift accommodation, but now the hotel on water is making the 8,000-mile journey from Gothenburg in Sweden, where it's been built, to Port Stanley in the Falklands in a very unusual way. Kate Adey reports.
It's 5 stories high, weighs 5,000 tons and will float anywhere. The hotel's safe demeanour may not be the Ritz, but it'll be a great improvement on living in a tent on the Falklands, providing accommodation for more than 900 soldiers. A centrally heated seagoing barracks, complete with mess rooms and kitchens, fully equipped down to the last teaspoon. Through the night, several tons of domestic items, troops for the use of, arrived courtesy the RAF. And the crockery was thrown gently on board. The Swedish company Consafe beat off other bids for the accommodation contract with the Ministry of Defence by promising to deliver in a matter of weeks. Since then, they've been working frantically to complete what they describe as their cosy shoebox on a barge. But they're so confident it'll reach the Falklands by Christmas that they've added a seasonal present from the forests near Gothenburg. For the safe demeanour to arrive in time, the Swedes decided against towing it, and they chartered the world's largest transportation ship, the Fern Carrier, to give their hotel a piggyback ride. This morning, this converted tanker sank partly below the surface 2 miles out to sea. Then the hotel was pulled across her midsection.
The Fern carrier leaves Sweden tomorrow, and it's reckoned she'll take 22 days to get down to the Falklands with the hotel perched on her deck, whatever the weather she encounters in the Atlantic.
And in the Falklands too, there'll be hope for good weather next month, as the whole operation is carried out in reverse.
Britain's toy makers urgently need brighter ideas for toys and games, claims a major new report on the toy trade. In the past few years, the toy firms in this country have had a difficult time. And one reason is that fewer toys are being sold because there are fewer children. Since 1979, the number of children under 10 has dropped from just over 9 million to 7 million. So the toy makers need to sell more toys per child to stay in business. But the report says British firms aren't doing well enough. That's because, it's claimed, they're sticking to the traditionally popular toys and games instead of launching new and exciting ones that keep up with children's changing tastes. Instead, the new toys, like electronic games, are coming from foreign toy makers. But there is, says the report, a ray of hope for Britain's ailing toy makers. More babies have been born recently, so soon there'll be more children to buy toys. And finally, the Olympic Games have just been held in the American state of Florida. No, not the real Olympics, but a special version for old people. Martin Bell reports.
They're called the Golden Age Games and begin in Olympic style with a parade of athletes and a flaming torch in the Florida town of Sanford. The youngest competitor is 55, the oldest 74. They'll testify that the joy of winning is as great at that age as at any age. The decathlon includes the 50 yards dash in two categories, from 55 to 64 and from 65 years old upwards.
I used to be a pretty good runner back in high school and college days, and I'm reliving my second childhood.
Then there's Gilberto Gonzalez of Puerto Rico, going here for a distance of 15 feet for a world long jump record for 69-year-olds.
15 feet. 15, that's all right.
The ambition, make no mistake about it, is not to take part, but to win.
Well, not everybody can win, and that's all from Newsround this week. We'll have a news report on Superstore on Saturday. Until then, bye-bye.